Hear that? Is that America cheering or a sausage patty sizzling to perfection? It's time to cheer for Egg McMuffin and fresh cracked eggs at McDonald's. It's time to wake up to the aroma of freshly baked biscuits and treat yourself to a real honest-to-goodness morning meal. Breakfast, it's on at McDonald's. Now get any breakfast sandwich for just $2. Available only through the app. Mobile order and pay available at participating McDonald's. McD app download and registration required.
Every year, compliance regulations change thousands of times, and every year ADP makes thousands of seamless platform updates so businesses can focus on everything else, like running their business. Grow stronger with ADP, HR, talent, time, and payroll.
Hey, and welcome to the HA Podcast. I'm Danny Sheriff, the host of this podcast, the founder of the HA Society, and an HA recovery coach who has walked wherever you currently are. This is the place to come if you care about getting your period regularly. This podcast aims to educate, inform, and keep you motivated on your period and HA recovery track. I would love it if you could rate and review this podcast, 5 stars only, to help make this podcast easier for other women with HA to find it. And last thing, nothing from this show should be taken as medical advice. Please seek the advice of your physician. So over a year ago, I created something called the 7-Day HA Recovery Commitment Challenge, and I've been running it for over a year. It was this free email-based challenge, so lots of reading, but you would get an email every day for 7 days to help you overcome and tackle the different but important areas that you need to be checking off in order to get your period back. Now, over time, I have collected some really great feedback, and upon working with all of these wonderful, amazing women, really started to learn even more about what works and what doesn't. And so I'm excited to be introducing to you guys the updated version. It's called the 7-Day HA Recovery Kickoff, and it is totally designed to help you not just commit to the process and have all of your ducks in a row in terms of important factors that need to be tackled and issues that need to be overcome in order to get your period, but the whole thing is now based in video. So you can listen/watch, and every day for 7 days, we will tackle nutrition. There's actually 2 days of that because it's so big. We'll tackle lifestyle, we'll tackle exercise, your support network, your mindset game. Each video goes from anywhere between 12 minutes and 5 minutes, so it's not very long, but you'll get all of the most important areas and the best tips and strategies for how to implement them. Because I know that going through recovery is hard. There's always an area for each person that is a little bit difficult to execute on. And so the goal, or maybe a lot difficult. So the goal of this challenge is to help you have the awareness, the self-awareness, and the tools and strategies you need to overcome each of the different issues that AHA recovery faces for us. So get on it. It's great if you're at the very beginning of recovery, or if you're halfway through. I mean, we never know how far through we are until it's over, do we? But no matter where you're at, it can be a really good opportunity to check in and look for blind spots and areas where you might be dropping the ball in your nutrition, in your lifestyle, maybe it's your support network that's a problem. Maybe exercise is something that you are still struggling with making changes to. So check it out. Go to thehasociety.com/7-day-challenge, or the link will be on the website. So it may be in the show notes of this show. It may not be. Just go to thehasociety.com and you'll find it in the footer, or you'll find it in the pop-up that happens when you visit the page. And we will see you for day 1 of the challenge. Hello. Okay, trying this angle out. Got my first coffee. It's been sitting here a while, but fun fact, poured myself a Rosetta. First one that I've done in about 4 years. First coffee I've poured in about 4 years, but still got it. So I put out a request for topics for this YouTube video / podcast. If you're listening on the podcast, please rate and subscribe. And if you're watching on YouTube, please do hit subscribe too so that you get notified when I release a new video. But Elizabeth asked, what are stressors that we could be thinking are not actually stress, that are actually stress, and thus is affecting our recovery? And it's just such a good question because there's so much to it. First of all, if you're experiencing, a prolonged wait, so if you've been trying to recover your cycle for months and months and you are 150% eating plenty, you are not exercising very much at all, if at all, and your period's still not coming back, you're probably one of those people who's gonna be, you're probably one of those people who thinks that like this is probably stress related, and that's absolutely possible. And so I want this video podcast to go one of two ways. I want you to either get something out of it because stress is a factor for you and be able to address it, or I want you to see that you're potentially avoiding eating more and resting and doing things that you really want to do because you want the answer to be stress, because for some of us, the answer being stress is more acceptable than the answer being you're underweight. So let's dive in. Number one, your job. So this is like a classic one, so we're kicking off with it. Your job being stressful, most people know what that looks like, right? Maybe you have a terrible boss, or the work that you do is really hard and specialized and specific, and so that's an obvious one. But ones that other people don't necessarily consider is if you do shift work and your schedule is constantly changing, if you work through the night like you're a nurse, those are stresses. Even if you're having a good time and you're enjoying it, it's a stress on your body that you might not be considering. Other work factors could be like, say you're a teacher, an elementary school teacher, primary school teacher, and you're very engaged and you walk around the classroom constantly, you bend down to help a student with something, you stand back up, you do that constantly, you are always playing, physical games with your students, that constant movement, although not necessarily stress, just is movement on the body. But also, a job like a teacher or a nurse, there's lots of jobs out there like this where you have to be constantly on. You have to be always paying attention to what's happening next. There's not a whole lot of downtime. And although you might be enjoying it, it's stress. Although you might look around at your colleagues and say, well, they can all do it, why can't I? It's stress, and they're stressed out too. And although you might be thinking everyone else in the world has a job and is busy, so this should be a normal amount of work stress, I want to remind you that the way we've designed the world was just totally like made up almost. So we went way too far. No one should be having to work 40 hours a week, but we do, right? And so much of our life is around work, and so much of our sense of security, right? In today's day and age, safety and security is directly linked to financial security and money. So that's a stress at all times. So your performance at work, showing up, being constantly aware, being constantly on point, regardless of whether you're happy or not, it is a stress. And so assessing your current situation is really important. Okay, the second one, thinking about productivity. So, I, for one, have a really hard time taking downtime and not thinking about being productive. I'm always thinking about, what's the next YouTube video I can make? Oh my gosh, I need to check in with that client. She's having a hard time. Oh, I need to get with Ashley and we need to discuss this thing. And well, I gotta pick up my kid from daycare. I gotta juggle it all. How can I be on it? How can I maximize time? And that's a stress. So like what you're thinking about, the fact that you're constantly planning the next couple of minutes and hours and days, it is a stress. And so we need to actively take time to back off of that and find a moment where you cannot think about it. So for me, what works, I have to read fiction or like watch TV. I just have to. Otherwise I will be thinking. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? I come up with all of my best ideas when I'm not working. When I'm at the grocery store, when I go for a walk, when I'm out with friends, it just appears in my brain. So it's actually better for me, and I'm ironically more productive when I'm not. Like when I'm actively taking the time to not work. I will be in the middle of like a fiction book, deeply engrossed in it, and an idea will come to my mind. So that's a benefit. But for the most part, you know, being able to watch a movie, watch TV, or read a book and really picture myself in the book, not let my mind trail off. When I catch my mind reading but actually thinking about something else, I bring it back and I bring myself into the story. And that's really important for shutting down a lot of the noise and the need to be productive, because that constantly having your mind on the next thing is a stress. It's telling your hypothalamus, your brain, hey, we don't have time for anything else. We do not have time to slow down, or there's always something next on the to-do list. It makes sense intuitively when you think about it this way, that it's going to affect your recovery. It's going to be seen as a stress. So it's not just important to slow down because that's like a buzzword type thing to say. It's important because it's directly sending a signal to your brain that we do not have to stress about the next thing on the to-do list. We can relax. That's the value of that. You need to check in with that, and you need to do that. The next one is looking for other answers. So this is an HA specific one. I am going to give you guys an example. So I'll like post on Instagram, hey, questions, what questions do you want answered? And I can tell in the way that the questions are written that people are looking for a very specific answer. And I want you to know, actually, that all of us girls in the HA space that have like Instagrams, blogs, that kind of thing, we all talk. We're all friends. We're all friends. And we actually know that a lot of you guys might, if you ask me a question, you've probably also asked them. And we discovered this at one point where I was like, oh, someone asked me this, and the others were like, oh, that person asked me that question too. You know, what answer did you give? And it kind of showed us that people are very anxious and need multiple different people to tell them the answer to their question. And the way they word it, they're looking for a very specific answer. So an example would be, hey, is it possible to recover without having to gain weight? Or, hey, is it possible that some people can have a healthy period but still be under the recommended BMI? Hey, like, do you absolutely have to be over a certain BMI? It's usually like that. Or, hey, is it possible that I can get my period back by just eating more, but if I don't, like if I keep training, I don't know, can I do it? And I only laugh because I get it, like I so get it. But that shows me that this person is high anxiety and high stress. We can tell by the way that you are asking your questions or talking to us that you, like, where your mind is at. And if you're approaching recovery from a relaxed or like a realistic mindset, and you're open to this stuff, and you're just not panicked about the whole thing, and we can tell if you're panicked about the whole thing. So constantly looking for answers to the same questions about your recovery, constantly hoping or trying to find a way to validate the answer that you want to hear. So if I come back and say to you, I reviewed your shit and I think you're underweight and I think you need to eat, more carbohydrates, and I feel like you are doing X, Y, and Z, and you don't want to hear that stuff, if you just go and look for someone else and keep asking the same question till you get the answer you want to hear, this is so stressful. That's so stressful. Like, how about you give yourself the grace, take a deep breath and say, I choose to accept this answer. I've heard this answer now a few times, and I'm going to stop stressing myself out trying to find a different answer, and I'm going to release myself of the need to be 150,000% sure that what these people are saying and seeing is right. I release myself of the need for being absolutely certain that I'm on the right path before I ever make any changes, and I'm just gonna try it and I'm gonna go with it. I hope that sits well. I hope that resonates with some people. Self-comparison. This is an area for stress for a lot of people. And I am one of these people. I have a lot of really successful entrepreneurial friends. Like, sometimes it shocks me. I mean, we were at my friend's like wild property for 4th of July, and we're just sitting there, and we're all having a good time, and then this guy rocks up, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's that Adrian guy from Entourage. And my husband's like, yeah, that is. And like, he's just rocking up to my best friend's ranch party for 4th of July. I didn't know that you were like neighbors with this guy. It's all just normal for them. It's just normal for them to be like living amongst celebrities and having a ranch property outside of their city property and all this stuff, right? Like, and those things, they cause me to compare myself sometimes and be like, well, we don't have a ranch property. Should I? I mean, my friends do. And I have a lot of those people in my life. And so I have to check in a lot. Like, where is this drive and this need for, wild amounts of like success coming from? Because it's causing you stress, Danny. So you might experience this in a similar way to me, or you might experience it in a way of comparing your recovery journey to someone else's, comparing your body to others, comparing, your financial situation, comparing your singleness or your marriage to someone else's. It's extremely stressful, because imagine if you were to just take away the self-comparison. A lot of us are already living life the way we want to live it. But because you're comparing your choices to someone else, it's making you wonder, is this what I should be doing? Oh no, it means this about me, that I don't make X amount or that I don't look X way. And it's a stress, because I will wake up sometimes in a default of like, I need to grind today in order to be worthy and to be at the same status of financial status or something like that than my friends. And I've done a lot of work to overcome it, and it's really helpful. Like, I can actually breathe when I stop comparing myself. And when I realize I'm so happy living where I live. I love my home, and I chose it because it's the one that's right for me and my family, yada, yada, yada. I have to check back in with that stuff because it causes me stress to be comparing myself to others.
The HA Society is taking clients. Coach Ashley and I work one-on-one with HAers, as we call you, to help you figure out a plan and, of course, implement it and stay accountable. Whether you've worked with a health practitioner already and you just want to stay accountable and strategic with the plan that they've laid out for you, or you want to start from scratch looking at all the aspects of your recovery needs and to create a game plan to reach those needs, then we are definitely your girls. When you sign up to work one-on-one with one of us, we're going to go over your history, your biggest obstacles, ensure that we're taking into account your specific goals, and start making a plan to reach them. So those goals could be getting your period back, could be getting pregnant, could be getting back to exercise or sport, or simply working on your mindset around your body image and long-term recovery. We also can teach you the fertility awareness method. So if you want to learn that so that you have the skills you need to go out into the world on your own without fear of getting HA again, we have got your back. So our coaching packages are either weekly or bi-weekly and only a month at a time commitment. So you're not paying tons and tons of money for 5-6 months. It's month to month, which is awesome. Makes perfect sense for period recovery, right? So to learn about other women's experiences working with us and to apply for a coaching spot, plus ask any questions that you might have before getting started, just go to thehasociety.com/coaching. The next one is worrying about others. So this one's for those of you who are people pleasers, who don't want to upset others. Maybe there's someone in your life who's constantly trying to help or who's always like doing things for you. And so you can't step back and focus on yourself because you need to like show up and match their energy, or someone's relying on you to do things. So if any of you have ADHD or ADD, you know that motivation and follow through can be really hard for you. And people who don't have ADD or ADHD they don't understand, right? That's me. I don't have it, and so I don't sometimes understand when like my husband starts something, gets really excited, and then just stops doing it, or like just procrastinates on stuff and doesn't follow through on things he says he's going to do. I follow through on everything I say I'm going to do. So I have a really hard time, which by the way is a stress, but it's a stress for him because he feels like he's letting me down, right? So if you're one of those people who maybe resonates with that or has tendencies in that direction, you know, worrying about what others are going to think or letting others down or needing to deliver for other people, this is a stress, and that's something that you should check in on and work with someone on. But honestly, the thing that's been the most successful for my relationships with people like this, because there's a lot of people like this, especially in my life, is that we have to talk about it. And we share our perspectives. To me, I don't get why you like say you're going to do things and then you just don't do them. And to them, they don't understand why I take it so personally or just like get so annoyed at their lack of follow through, or it's just they need to tell me, hey, it's actually just not helpful to me when you push me or make me feel bad about the fact that I didn't do this thing because that's just not how I work and I need other ways of encouragement. And then together we work on those ways of encouragement. You can tell that this is an area of my life that we're working on. But yeah, communicating with others about the fact that, you know, you can't always show up for them in the way that they're looking for helps you to release some of that stress and that pressure. And just check in too with yourself when you're doing something for someone else. Like, why are you doing it? Do you need to do it? Why are you stressed about doing it? These things are important, and I'm being kind of vague about it because I think it shows up differently for different people. I've seen this in my work with clients. Worrying about others and being a people pleaser looks different for everyone. So just take a moment or have a chat with friends or people close to you to discover, like, what does it look like for you to be a people pleaser, and do you think it's possibly problematic? Okay, and then the last one, we're going to talk a little bit about NEAT, non-exercise activity something, thermogenesis. So this is essentially just like the amount of calories it is taking my body to drink this coffee and be sitting here talking to you and be like the busybody that I am. I always have to change positions in my chair, or just the walk that you did around the grocery store today, like just the activity that's not specifically for exercise but is just you moving throughout the day. This kind of is similar to that very first example I gave of like the teacher for, you know, who is walking around the class, bending down, getting up, or the nurse who's actively walking around patient to patient. That's someone who has a lot of NEAT built into their day. I personally don't have a lot of NEAT built into my day. I sit here and make YouTube videos, I record podcasts, I work from home, so I don't have a whole lot of NEAT going on. So each person should check in with them, like, what amount do you have? And, you know, it could be you walk a lot for just around the house. It could be that you do a yoga session in the morning and in the evening. It's a really tough one. It's super individual. I actually recommend, if you want to but you kind of want to just take stock. If you are unsure if you're still being hyperactive, sit down with a pen and paper and list out all of the activities that you do. So early on in my recovery, I was doing a lot of NEAT. I was always looking for a way, because I wasn't actually exercising as much, like almost complete reduction in exercise, but I was always looking for ways to sneak it in so that I felt better about myself and was like mitigating weight gain. So I would obsessively clean the kitchen, like every dishwasher, empty the dishwasher, do laundry, like housework, a lot of it, to try and be active. I would take really long walks every morning and just feel like those walks were okay because they were significantly different to the intense weightlifting I was doing. And, you know, I have a dog, and so she needs exercise, and I just would like find ways to add movement into my day, which, you know, for a lot of the population is a really healthy thing to do. 100%, not a bad habit. That said, during recovery, where we're looking for areas of stress that could be holding us back from getting our period, and right now we're in a lot of debt. You know, I've described this a few times, but we're in an energy debt where we don't have, like, we're not even at maintenance, and we need to kind of get our body to a certain place where it can handle even this amount of consistent movement of the body. So you may be thinking, oh, my yoga session is not it's super gentle, or it's not, it's just like barely movement. Well, if you think that, maybe it's more movement than you think. Maybe you're walking around the grocery shop every single day and that's taking up time. Maybe you walk or run to work. Maybe you, I don't know, like it's very specific to you. It could be a whole lot of things. And it is a good idea to sit down and like pick apart your day and be, okay, where am I making negotiations here? Because when I do that with clients and they'll be like, I really barely exercise, I don't know what's up, and then I'll comb through with them like, okay, what do you do when you wake up? Then you go to work. I'm like, what do you do at work? And when you come home, what do you do? And we can often uncover like some things that they're doing that they're unaware that they're doing, or that they're doing but they just kind of don't want to part with it, and they want us to figure out how to get their period back without having to address it. So check in on your NEAT, check in on like the way that you're moving around throughout the day, and just see, could this be adding stress? Not just because it's additional calories burned, but because you're putting the pressure on yourself to be doing those things. You're putting this pressure and this stress on yourself to mitigate weight gain. And we can tell you, your brain knows. Your brain knows when you're avoiding things, when you're trying to not gain weight or something like that. So I strongly encourage you to look into your intention behind the movement that you're doing through the day. Are you being like I was and doing dishes because it's movement? Because your brain knows. It knows. Okay. So I think that's enough for today. I think you get what I'm trying to say. Stress is everywhere in hidden pockets in your life. Look into it, question everything. Be brutally honest with yourself. Why are you doing this? What's the intention behind it? And the last thing I'll say is like, for those of us who do have additional movement in our day, you need more food than the 2,500 calorie bloody number that's always being thrown around. I'm always hearing this. I eat 2,500 calories. Like that's what, that's what they say the average person gets their period back with. Yeah, the average person who is not doing any exercise. And the average person, there are some people who only need 2,000, 2,300, and there are some people who need 2,800 and 3,000. But you need to not compare yourself to those people, especially if you have additional activity throughout your day. You need to ditch that number in your head and remember that your unique stresses emotionally, mentally, and physically are adding up to a unique toll that is unique to you, that is not adding up to the person next to you that you're comparing yourself to. Just remember that. Recovery is individual. I know a lot of people have gotten their period back by simply stopping exercise and eating more, but the reality of that is that there are people who that's not working for, and that's called throwing everything at the wall. Zero exercise, completely eating a metric shiz ton of food, right? You are throwing everything at the wall to get your period back, if that's what you're doing, and that's totally okay. But not everyone is doing that. Chances are, if you're listening to this, you're not doing that. So I don't know. Sorry, I'm ranting at you, but I would love to help you. If you're a member of the HA Society, come chat with me and I will help you comb through this and we'll figure it out. Or look into one-on-one coaching. I can help you figure this out yourself. Look into your nutrition, your lifestyle, your mindset, your daily life stresses, and we can kill them one at a time until we get your period back. That would be fun. So check that out. Links are in the show notes. We'll go to thehasociety.com and fill out an application form. That would be fun. I would love to work with you. I will see you guys next time. And don't forget to rate, review this podcast / subscribe. Thank you so much for listening today, guys. Please subscribe to the podcast. And if you could head to iTunes specifically and leave a rating or review, that would help so much because it makes it easier for other people with HA who are Googling around to find the podcast really easily. So if you do that, you're doing a service to all of the women to this channel. Love you. Bye.
Amwell is the telehealth app making therapy convenient with live therapy visits on your schedule. Video therapy offers the convenience of visits from anywhere, no travel necessary, with weekend and evening appointments available. Visits are $48 less than the average office visit. Get care for anxiety, depression, and more, all from your phone or tablet. Download the Amwell app and have your first virtual visit for $10 with code 10VISIT.
Hear that? Is that America cheering or a sausage patty sizzling to perfection? It's time to cheer for Egg McMuffin and fresh cracked eggs at McDonald's. It's time to wake up to the aroma of freshly baked biscuits and treat yourself to a real honest-to-goodness morning meal. Breakfast, it's on at McDonald's. Now get any breakfast sandwich for just $2. Available only through the app. Mobile order and pay available at participating McDonald's. McD app download and registration required.